Welcome to the Australian Dental Council 2026 podcast. You are tuning into a deep dive where we are going to strip back the layers of the Australian healthcare system. Specifically, we're looking at the firewall, the gatekeeping mechanism that determines who gets to call themselves a dentist in Australia. And I don't use that word gatekeeping lightly. It is a high wall to climb, and for a very good reason.
Yeah, it's a fortress, really. But in this context, we have to frame gatekeeping not as some, negative exclusionary term, but as a necessary filter.
Okay.
We're talking about the Australian Dental Council, or the ADC. And for anyone looking at the healthcare landscape in 2026, understanding this body is, well, it's absolutely critical.
Right. So for you listening, whether you're a policy wonk, a dental student, or maybe an overseas dentist thinking about moving to Australia, this is your operational roadmap. We have a massive stack of documents here.
We do.
The accreditation standards, candidate handbooks, and crucially, the breaking news releases from late 2025 about the 2026 exam cycle. Our mission is to unpack exactly how overseas trained dentists prove they are ready to practice here.
We're looking at the how, the why.
And wait, they changed what?
And there are some significant they changed what moments this year. But to ground everyone, we first need to clarify who the ADC actually is.
Yeah, good point.
There's often a bit of confusion. The ADC is the Independent Accreditation Authority. They're appointed by the Dental Board of Australia, the DBA.
So just to be clear, they aren't the government.
No, not at all. They're an independent body. And they aren't a union, which is a common misconception I hear a lot.
Right.
Their job isn't to protect the jobs of local dentists by, artificially limiting the supply of foreign ones.
Yeah.
Their mandate is purely public protection.
That is a vital distinction. So when they design these exams, they aren't thinking, how do we keep people out? They're thinking,
how do we ensure that when someone visits a clinic in Melbourne, they're safe?
Exactly. When you sit in that dental chair in Sydney or Perth or wherever, you need to know the person holding that drill meets a specific standard.
Regardless of whether they went to university in Queensland, Columbia, or Cairo.
So it's not just about looking at a diploma, seeing a stamp, and saying, yeah, it looks official, here's a drill.
Oh, far from it. That diploma is just the entry ticket to the car park. The actual assessment framework is, it's one of the most rigorous in the world.
Okay.
If you look at the source material, the design documents, everything hinges on this concept called Miller's Pyramid.
I saw that in the notes. It sounds a bit like a nutritional chart, but I'm assuming it's educational theory.
It is, yeah. It's deeply rooted in educational theory. So Picture a triangle. The bottom level is knows. That's your book smarts.
Okay.
Above that is knows how. Can you apply the theory? But the ADC, they don't care that much about those bottom levels. Their assessment sits right at the very peak, shows how, and does.
So proving you know the theory isn't enough, you have to prove you can perform.
Exactly. You cannot memorize your way into the Australian dental workforce. The philosophy moves from knowing facts to demonstrating behavior in a simulated environment. And behavior is the key word there.
Right. How you act, not just what you know.
Precisely.
Well, let's pull on that thread, because when I was looking at the professional competencies of the newly qualified dental practitioner, that document from 2023, I expected a list of technical tasks, fill a cavity.
Sure.
But the list is much broader. The soft skills, which honestly seem harder to quantify, it lists social responsibility, communication, and notably cultural safety, specifically for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples.
Yeah, that is a huge part of the modern framework. The days of the sort of silent technician who just fixes teeth and ignores the person, they're over. If you look at the new ADC values they launched in July 2025, they list collaboration, respect, learning, and integrity. They're testing for a holistic practitioner.
Someone who understands that a patient isn't just a set of teeth?
Exactly. But a human being with a history, with anxiety, a cultural context.
So if you're a candidate and you're a wizard with a drill, you can do the most beautiful crown prep, but you can't explain a treatment plan to a confused patient, you fail.
You will fail. The ultimate client here is not the dentist trying to get a visa, it's the Australian public. The process is designed to ensure that on day one, that practitioner is safe and effective.
Okay, let's clarify the scope. Who is actually in the queue for this? Because if I'm a dentist from, say, New Zealand, do I still have to jump through all these hoops?
It depends. This process is specifically for overseas qualified dental practitioners whose qualifications are not automatically recognized by the dental board.
And New Zealand gets a pass.
Yes, that's because of the Trans-Tasman Mutual Recognition Agreement. It's a reciprocal trust arrangement.
But for almost everyone else, if you trained in India, Brazil, the Philippines, you're entering the ADC pipeline.
You are. And it is a pipeline with 3 very distinct stages.
All right, let's walk through the roadmap. We have the initial assessment, the written exam, and then the practical exam. Stage 1, the initial assessment. This looks like the paperwork phase.
It is, but don't underestimate it. This is the background check. They're verifying your professional qualifications, your good standing. You have to prove you have a valid degree.
And they check this at the source.
Oh, yeah. They're calling the universities, no Photoshop degrees.
And what's the financial damage to get in the door?
According to the current fee schedule, it's about 647 Australian dollars.
Okay, and the timeline?
It's about 8 weeks. But once you pass this, it's valid for 7 years.
7 years? That's a generous window.
It is, but you'll need it. Because next up is stage 2, the written examination. And this is where the real filtering begins.
Now, I've seen multiple choice tests. Usually you can sort of game the system. Is this that kind of test?
Not at all. These are scenario-based MCQs. The sources really emphasize that this tests clinical judgment and reasoning, not just memory.
So you had a whole patient case.
A detailed history, an X-ray, maybe a photo, and a complaint. And you have to decide the best management from a list of plausible options.
That's tricky. Plausible options usually means 2 answers look right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It filters out those who just know the textbook versus those who understand clinical application. It's a 2-day marathon for the brain.
And logistically, do you have to fly to Australia just for a written test?
Fortunately, no. For dentists, they partner with Pearson VU. So you can sit this at test centers all over the world. It's usually held twice a year, March and September.
What's the cost step up?
It jumps to approximately $2,122.
Okay, so you've spent nearly $3,000 and you've proved you have the knowledge. You absolutely must pass this to unlock the final level.
Yes. This is the gatekeeper to the practical exam. And this is where things get really intense.
Let's dive into the practical examination. I'm calling this the crucible because unlike the written test, you can't do this one from your local computer center.
No. You are packing your bags. The practical examination is held exclusively at the ADC Examination Center in Melbourne.
So picture this. You've flown in from halfway around the world. You're jet-lagged. You've spent thousands. And now you have 2 days to prove your entire career is valid. What does day 1 look like?
Day 1 is usually the technical skills day. You walk into a state-of-the-art simulation clinic, rows of mannequins, fake heads with very realistic jaws.
We're talking drilling.
Drilling and filling. You work on typodont teeth, specially designed simulation teeth. You might have to prep a tooth for a crown or remove decay or even do a root canal on a plastic tooth.
And I saw in the handbook the tasks are split.
Yes, generally half are restorative fixing the tooth and half are preparation cutting the tooth. They need to see your hands are steady, your margins are clean. We're talking fractions of a millimeter.
That sounds stressful enough. But then comes day 2, the clinical skills day. And this isn't drilling, is it?
No. This is the OSCE Objective Structured Clinical Examination. It's a circuit. You rotate through 10 different stations.
What happens at a station?
More often than not, you walk into a room and there's an actor playing a patient.
An actor. So you have to role play.
You have to function as a dentist. You have to gather information from them. Maybe explain a complex diagnosis in simple terms. They are testing your communication.
Can you handle a patient who is angry or scared?
Exactly. This goes back to that shows how part of the pyramid. You can't just write down, I would reassure the patient. You actually have to look someone in the eye and do it.
While an examiner sits in the corner marking you.
It is incredibly unnerving. This is often where highly skilled technicians can fail.
And let's talk about the investment. The practical exam fee is, well, it's an eye-watering amount.
It is. It's approximately $4,775. Add your flights, accommodation. You're looking at a $10,000 trip, easily.
And for the technical part, is the examiner breathing down your neck while you drill?
For the technical skills day, no. It's blind marking.
Oh, that's good.
It's a crucial fairness measure. You do your work, you leave the room, and that tooth is sent to be marked by 2 independent examiners later.
Oh.
They don't know who you are. They just see the work.
That seems like the fairest way to do it. Now, this is where it gets really interesting for anyone listening today, in 2026, because the advice you'd find from a few years ago is now dangerously outdated.
There have been significant changes. The biggest one, announced in December 2025, is the shift regarding amalgam.
Amalgam, the silver fillings.
Yes. For decades, placing an amalgam was a staple of this exam. But starting from period 2, 2026, the amalgam placement task has been completely removed.
Wow, that is a huge shift. Why the change?
It aligns with the Minamata Convention on Mercury. The entire global dental profession is shifting towards mercury-free dentistry. It's no longer a relevant competency for a modern Australian practitioner.
Okay, so no more silver paste. What else is new for the 2026 cohort?
Technology upgrades.
Ah.
Also, in period 2, 2026, they're introducing the Platinum range of high-performance simulation teeth.
Platinum range. What does that actually mean for the candidate?
It's all about haptics, the sense of touch. These new teeth have a realistic cutting response. They feel like real enamel and dentine.
That's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's more realistic, but mistakes are probably more obvious.
True. But for a skilled dentist, it should actually feel more natural. It rewards muscle memory.
I also want to touch on one more update from late 2025 regarding migration, because a lot of people are fighting a visa battle on a separate front.
This was a very welcome change. Previously, candidates had to submit a pile of documents for a skills assessment for migration before they could even sit the written exam.
So a lot of expensive red tape up front.
Exactly. Now they've streamlined it. You don't need to do that assessment until after you have passed the practical exam, and then you can submit the documents at no extra cost.
That sounds like they are actually trying to be a bit more candidate-friendly.
It does. It reflects those new values we mentioned. They recognize the burden on these candidates.
So let's zoom out. You make it through the gauntlet, you pass the written, you fly to Melbourne, you ace the platinum teeth, you charm the actor. What do you actually get?
You get an ADC certificate. But, and I cannot stress this enough, that certificate is not your registration.
Wait, really? After all that, you still aren't a dentist?
Not yet. You are eligible to apply to be a dentist. The ADC certificate tells the dental board this person is technically and clinically competent. But you still have to go to OPRA, the registration agency.
And what do they check that the ADC hasn't?
They check the legal and safety barriers. Your criminal history international police checks, your English language skills again, professional indemnity insurance.
So the ADC checks your hands and your brain, OPRA checks your background and legal standing.
That's the perfect way to put it. One is competency, the other is suitability. You need both.
For the candidates, it's obviously a grueling journey. But for the Australian workforce, what's the implication? Why make it this hard?
Standardization. The workforce here is incredibly diverse, but it operates on a unified level of safety. Whether you trained at the University of Melbourne or in Bogota, you have met the exact same entry-level standard.
And that standard is high.
It is. The pass rates aren't 100%, but that difficulty is the firewall that protects patient safety.
It brings up a provocative thought to leave you with. We have shortages of healthcare workers, especially in rural Australia, and yet we have these incredibly high walls. You have to wonder about the balance between those gold standards and the need for boots on the ground.
It is the eternal tension in healthcare regulation, safety versus supply. But the ADC stance is clear. Safety cannot be compromised. The question is, as the world gets smaller, will we see more mutual recognition? Or will the exam just keep getting more sophisticated?
That is something for you to mull over. If you are prepping for these exams, good luck. The platinum teeth are waiting for you.
Indeed. Study hard and focus on your communication as much as you're drilling.
Please subscribe and share for further updates. We'll keep tracking these changes as they roll out in 2026. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.